That's what I wanted to get into with you. You must see some crazy shit. You work for the subway technically, or you work for the city?
The MTA, which is actually a state job.
Okay.
Which is the reason actually I can't do pot, because pot stays in you forever.
Really?
And they make you do, pot test all the time or whatever. So I can't do pot, but you can do. I'm going to tell a classified thing. You could do shrooms because they don't test for it.
Right, they're not advanced enough.
Or the other thing you could do is you could also do coke, because coke's out of your system in like 36 hours, I think, some bullshit.
It's in and out.
Yeah, but pot stays in you forever, so I'll be able to touch pot again in another 22 years. So
yeah.
But to be honest with you, I don't necessarily miss it that much. So.
Yeah, you're not missing a whole lot with pot.
I don't know.
Although it is crazy now how legal it is, but they still won't let people use it. What if you have a medical reason to use it? Still no?
What they do is they'll demote you down to a station cleaner. So station cleaners are lowest thing, like the people that clean the stations or whatever. But dude, you're fucking cleaning up shit.
So those people can smoke all the weed they want.
I don't know about that, but I know guys who are signal people. There's signals, power distribution. There's all these other different.
What's a signal person?
A signal person is the person that does. They do the switches on the trains, so they make sure they're working. But they also do the little. If you ever are at the end of the platform, there's lights there. There's lights that tell the train, red, green, yellow. Yes, you can go. No, you can't go.
Right.
Caution or whatever. So they deal with all that stuff.
And what's your position?
Right now, I'm a track worker, but I did take the test for power distribution. So when I get that'll be a $4 an hour raise. But the cool thing about that is it's a lot less work. But power distribution is like there's two rails down there, that the train runs on, and then there's the other thing that's on the side, which is provides the power to the train. So then that's I don't know. I'll be dealing with that, and that actually is. It's less work than track work.
Yeah, but it's more responsibility, more lives in your hand.
Well, you can. If you're not careful, you can zap yourself.
Really?
Because there's like 600 volts going through the stupid thing. So
you don't need weed when you can just zap yourself anytime. So what does a track worker do? Exactly what it sounds like. Are you just out on the tracks? You're the reason for the delays, or you're the reason why the delays aren't?
Yes, sometimes. Okay. So there's 3 different things of track working, which I do.
Yeah.
There's Capital, which I was in. And Capital is actually there's 4, but there's a Capital, which is the guys that are going on, and they come in and they rip out a whole section and they put in brand new stuff, and that usually happens on the weekends. So when
that's when all the fucking delays are.
Exactly.
Why do they do it on weekends? They just want to ruin everybody, or less people on the trains.
Exactly, and then also you don't Monday through Friday. They generally want everything kind of going through
moving
good.
Smoothly. How often? Why do they need to replace so many things? Why don't they just make it good the first time around? Like, what are they replacing?
It wears down, dude. Is what happens.
Oh, does it?
So most of the time, the other division of whatever I do is also called maintenance.
Yeah.
So once in a while, a rail will fuck up, and so then they'll come in and put a new rail in. And then there's what I'm doing right now is track cleaning, which is basically you clean all the garbage that all these bozos throw on, and then
how does there?
It's kind of
it's just where there's openings, or is there trash like down in the tunnel where no people are?
Sometimes the trains go whoosh, with the air,
and bring
they'll bring it down.
Okay, so. Have you ever seen anybody back there, like in the tunnels, roaming around?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. And then, but then you call the cops, and then
what are they doing back there?
They're just fucking crazy, dude. Like, my favorite is like they'll set up like little encampments, and so we have to clean those out. So like, they'll have like a fucking little encampment with like, dude. One time it was at 103 on the BC line, which is there on the side of Central Park West. A dude had all of his shit there with the books and all this other bullshit, but he also had like a seat out of a van. All right, dude. So as the trains are going by, he's just sitting there reading his book.
How far away from the train is he?
Well, he was up on a bench wall, is what it's called.
Yeah.
And so he was on that, and like he had all of his shit there, clothes, and all this.
He was living there.
He's just chilling there. That, and then the other thing we've had to do is we have these things also called wide areas, which is it's where we kind of store materials or whatever, but they're kind of tucked back in the train in the area a little bit, and so a lot of times they'll make their own little like bed thing situation, all their books, all their clothes and shit and piss down there.
And this is mostly during the winter. Or this is all season, all seasons.
It's an ongoing thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess I would kind of get it during the winter. It's probably pretty warm in there.
Yeah,
protected from the elements.
Yeah.
But how do they get down there? So they jump down the plane or the train platform, and then they just walk along the train tracks.
At the end of each platform is those little red signs that said "Do not go beyond this thing."
Yeah.
They go beyond this thing, and then like
they should get zapped. That should be the guy's job who has the zapping power. He should just be zapping those.
Well, sometimes they do because my friend, I rent a mic on Saturdays, not to plug,
Please do.
not to plug, but when I do, dude. One time when it was happening, the fire department and all these ambulances came and shit like that. And what happened was a guy came down and he was down on the tracks and like he got between the third rail and the negative rail. And dude, you bridge that gap. There's 600 volts going through you. That guy got electrocuted without no trial, no nothing.
And then what happened? He
I
get run over?
I assumed he was dead. No, you're gonna die, bro. You will die. You
Really?
get 600 volts going through you.
So this is third rail. So if you're walking along the train tracks, which rail are you not supposed to?
Okay, there's two
touch?
rails there, but you got to complete the circuit. So like, there's two train rails that the train goes on, and one of them is it switches too. The trail, those two things switch, and so one of them is the signal rail because the signal rail has it has a little gap between the things, but that actually tells there's a control center or whatever that tells them where this train is. And so what it's supposed to do is to make it so that they keep a safe gap between trains. And so there's a signal rail on one side and there's the negative rail on the other side. And the negative rail, what that does is that all the trains, they have these little things called shoes, and then that goes on the third rail thing. And so when it hits the third rail and the negative rail at the same time, that's what provides the power to the trains. And so that's like 600 volts.
And so how did this guy get electrocuted? He was touching one of the rails, or he was just in between?
He got down in between the negative rail and the freaking third rail, and then he just zapped himself, dude. So he was toast.
Dude, people are really taking their life into their own hands, I guess, when they're walking along the train tracks.
They're psychopaths.
And where's your mic at? It's not in the train station, is it?
No. It was that was the 110 station at Lenox there that happened. And my mic is at St. Nick and 112. So it's like 2 blocks up from it. But dude, when all the fire department stuff comes with the fire trucks, the ambulances,
you hear
it. It gets in.
Remember the mics you used to run there was mics in the train station, right? From what I remember.
We did at the Q at 86th Street. We used to do this.
That
in
was
front of all
a
those
nightmare.
Mosaics.
Yeah.
It was funny.
And people would just be walking by and there'd be an open mic.
And you try to do it.
The train was happening, and the train was coming, so you'd be in the middle of a joke, and it would come. I mean, not that open mics are anything great, anyways, but it was just adding more elements to it. Yeah, it kind of was. And yeah, also you kind of had a built-in crowd from the people coming through, although none of them wanted comedy.
Sometimes they did or whatever.
It's so crazy how none of them even would like stop. Like, there's so much weird stuff going on. Like, if you were to just see people performing stand-up randomly in a place, you'd probably stop and be like, what's going on? But people in New York just they'd walk on stage through the stage. They just would be so unaffected by it that I'm like, wow, these people have seen so much bullshit. They're just like, oh, some more bullshit happening.
I loved it.
Which is true.
It was so funny.
But yeah, those were the
and my favorite was the one time when we were doing it, there were cops that were over there watching us. They didn't give a fuck. But then one of the guys was like, he was doing a joke. He goes, I used to sell drugs and blah, blah, blah. That was his joke. And the cop said to him, you need to go back to selling drugs.
Yeah, they do not care either. Huh? There's so much happening that you probably aren't allowed to even do that, right? To just set up. I mean, I guess you can. We could say it was like a protest or something.
You can do a lot as long as you're not obstructing people's getting on. As long as you're not blocking off an area, you can kind of
do whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
Interesting. So back to the train. What's the so would you ever want to drive the train or no? And how long does that take to become a train
You can
conductor?
do that. Yeah. No, it's like you got to do everything within the MTA. You got to keep taking tests. So like the next time that test comes up, I'll probably do it. There's a guy who was a track worker. I don't know if you know him. His name's Chris Rails. He's another comic.
Chris Rails is his name?
Yeah.
So he was destined for the train tracks.
I guess.
What, he's a conductor?
There's the conductor's the door guy. All right, and then the operator is the person that makes the train go.
Okay.
Two guys. So guy or girl. I didn't mean to misgender.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the conductor's what?
Conductor just opens and shuts the doors and says the shit. Says like
They're the ones that are looking out the window?
They're looking out that.
Oh, I always thought how many people are driving the train?
Just one
guy?
person. It's a train operator.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
And he's just pressing a button to say go and stop, or what is he doing?
It depends. They eventually want to make all the things train tracks. They're called CBCT, which stands for computer control. I don't even know. But like the L is CBCT.
Not run by a person.
The 7. No, they're run by a person, but the person all it's doing is hitting a button saying, I got to hit a button every 20 seconds or whatever the hell to say that whatever. And then like sometimes it'll shut off because of whatever, but they're basically just hitting a button to say that, whatever, it's computer controlled and it's supposed to make the trains go faster. That's what the L is. The 7 is, I think maybe the F.
I figured they were all like that. So you're telling me some of them that are actually being driven by people?
They have like a little, what do you call it, controller that you push forward.
So it's like some are manual, some are automatic. Basically.
Yes, eventually, but eventually they want to make all of them.
Yeah,
because
I would think so.
They say it'll make it more efficient or whatever the hell.
It's crazy how long it takes for the city to really do anything. Like we must have had the technology to do this years ago, but it just takes them forever to implement it. And also, where are all the fees going from the train? What do those go to? To you?
It depends. Like the fees go to doing maintenance and doing cleaning, what I'm doing, and paying for whatever. But your federal dollars are what comes in that does the capital jobs. So for the first 2 years I was in there, I was in capital, which is the ripping out train tracks and shit. And those you can get crazy overtime doing. So like they want you to work like back-to-back 16s on the weekend, which is a 16-hour shift. Then you get 8 hours off in between. Then you got to do another 16-hour shift. But the problem is that's 8 hours off that you get in between is like a lot of times it takes 2 hours to get to the job both ways. And so then you take the fucking train home, then you got 4 hours, say, to like per se sleep.
Yeah.
And so then you got to take a shower, do all that other fucking shit. So dude, the second day you're coming in, you're just...
Have you done those?
Oh yeah, when I first started working. Because they tell you like in your first year, dude, you can kind of be whacked for a ton of shit. So I can't do drugs anymore. Don't get in fights. But like in your first year, you're on probation, so they can let you go over tons of shit.
Yeah.
So
they make you do the jobs that nobody else wants to do, and then do they pay you overtime for those shifts? Or
yeah, you get time and a half.
Why are they doing it? They're just trying to squeeze everything into the week, as much into the weekends as they can.
Because they want to get those jobs done by Monday. Because you have to have the trains up and running Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends, like I said, is where
it's slow. So you're having to take the slow trains that you know are going to be delayed back home.
Exactly.
Sleep and then come back. Wow, that's a tough. It
sucks. It did.
That's crazy.
I'm not gonna lie about that. It did suck. Yeah.
So that's where all the money's going to, is to pay overtime, huh?
That's capital though. Those capital jobs are federal though.
Okay.
Whereas the other stuff is all
state,
the fairs and stuff like that. I would say, yeah. Yeah,
and what's up with so they always make the stupidest adjustments when they do try to do things. Why is the announcements they make are you can't hear them on the train. Speakers
Absolutely.
Suck.
Yeah,
you can't hear anything. So it's like, how have they not updated that? Like I've left for a year, come back to New York, nothing has changed with the train. The one thing they did change that I saw is to prevent people from hopping over the turnstiles. They've added like a tiny, like 3-inch thing that I'm like, you can still hop over that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like that's the best they could come up with in a year. Like let's make this turnstile slightly taller, but not really that much.
Yeah, and then they also have those other ones. I don't know if you've seen them. There's I don't know where they're at. There's some with those turnstile gate
Yeah,
things.
they're like glass ones.
And that, well, yeah, there's ones, yeah, like the doors.
They have that in Boston. They have ones that are like high up and they go together. And yeah, those are probably more. I mean, you could jump them if you wanted to.
But you know what you do? You could just put your hand, reach your hand over the thing as if you're going out, and that'll make the door open.
Oh, really?
So it's like it's
funny.
a no-win situation. Well, the biggest thing is like our lovely DA has said that any of that stuff they're not going to prosecute. So any of that.
But you still get a ticket though, don't you?
You can't. You do get a ticket, but like
you just don't pay it, and they're not going to prosecute it.
Well, they're not going to prosecute. But the other thing that happens is like, dude, you get very many of those fucking things, then you can get like a warrant for your ass, which means they'll come. I don't know if I live in the projects. Of Taft houses represent. So,
Have you always lived? Have you always lived there? Or
I've lived there since '99. So,
okay, damn,
pretty long time. But the warrant squad will come there. Like they come there like 3, 4, 5 in the morning, and they're basically plainclothes cops, and they go banging on people's door. And they gather up a bunch of people, put them in handcuffs, and they're in this van, and then they're all going to wherever the fuck, and then
they could probably just show up to those places and like randomly catch people. Like they just be like, oh, we'll just knock on every door and we're gonna find some.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Some people that have warrants.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of do that anywhere in New York. But yeah, definitely. I don't know why the train just can't figure it out. It seems like it'd be easy. And then the other thing I heard of the announcement the other day was like, don't ride on the. It's just multiple announcannouncements. It was like, don't ride on the outside of the train. I'm like, how many people are doing that? That needs to be an announcement.
There's a ton of kids.
How about don't fuck corpses on the train? I feel like that
one was a good one. That just happened.
That's seems like
the guy that died was a good-looking guy.
It seems like a Mad Lib thing of like you're just entering in different words on a thing. What's the craziest thing that could happen on a train? Fuck, dead body. That makes no sense. I don't understand how that would happen or why that would happen or how anybody would be in a situation where they see a dead body on a train and their first thought is, oh, I could probably fuck this guy.
Exactly.
Or maybe, hopefully he thought he was alive, but even that doesn't help his case a lot because he thought he was sleeping.
Not at all.
And
and then just so you know, all the train cars, even if you think they don't, they all have cameras in them.
Oh yeah,
every single one. Like some of those newer train cars, you can see those little bubbles that are. But like the ones like the 4, 5, 6, it looks like it. The numbers will be. I mean, it's got like all the stops. But if you look at one of the stops, there's like a little black hole. That's a camera, and so they got a whole view of everything.
I wonder if they keep those. If we could go back in time and be like, hey, can I see my...
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Can I see my highlights from my train trips?
There's so much fucking...
It's crazy that they have all that, and now they have cops in the train, and people are still doing whatever the fuck they want. People are still doing crazy shit because they just can't... I mean, the people that are doing crazy shit aren't going to care that there's cameras there watching them because they're already... insane. They're like,
it's just they don't enforce anything, dude. That, and then the other fact of the matter is catch and release, man. That like
they still do that.
Oh yeah, everybody fucking gets like they'll give whoever a ticket, and usually it's the guys that have like X amount of priors, and then it escalates, and then a guy raped somebody, a guy knifed and stabbed and killed somebody, a guy pushed somebody in front of the fucking train, and then like.
Yeah, what's the deal? What's the deal with pushing somebody in the train? I feel like that could happen more.
Just so you guys, paramedics get the body, all right, but we deal with the fucking leftover.
The aftermath.
Yeah, so we put this stuff called sorbitol down, which is like it looks like kitty litter.
Yeah.
But it soaks up all the blood and the goop and shit like that. Yeah. And then,
how often are you guys doing that?
There's been we've had 2 or 3 since I've.
Really? And how long you been there? A year?
I'm 3. I'm going
3 years.
3 years. Yeah.
So it's like 1 a year. It's not that many, but that's only
those are the ones
personally.
I see. Yeah. But there's the other ones.
Really? How many of those do you think are happening?
Oh, dude, every day.
Really?
Every day shit's happening. Especially, that's the reason the whole little Subway Surfer thing is like all those little kids. Like,
yeah, what's the deal with the Subway Surfers? I didn't think this was a real thing.
It happens where you are here in the outer boroughs, specifically like on the 7 line and shit you see. But like, dude, the thing is like when it happens, like I'm sure I could find some videos on my phone, but like all the, when they fall off the train, they fall down onto the structure, which is those ties, and then a lot of times they're not in one piece anymore, and so there's blood like gooping down and shit like that. I mean, I know I have stuff on my phone I can find because like everybody, when we all see it or whatever the hell, everyone sends it in like a group chat or whatever the hell. So you're not supposed to do that, and the cops are like whatever. But,
whatever.
But everybody.
So how do people ride on the outside of the train? I mean, I've seen videos of it in India.
They climb
up
pretty
on top.
Sweet there. They climb up on top and then they go running or some shit.
And they do it as like a dare, or what are they? Why are they doing it?
They do it as dude. A lot of it's just social media followers or whatever the fuck. So they're like,
oh, maybe I gotta start watching some of those videos.
Yeah,
maybe I gotta start doing that actually.
I don't know, dude. I think it'd be scary because, like, dude, like, if you fall off, dude, a train's like fucking, what is it, 20 feet tall or whatever? You fall onto that, you're falling down onto something. You're not falling onto something soft. It's
right.
It's not like,
and the train's going when they're doing it, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So
how fast is the train going?
It depends. I think it's 35 is what they can. I don't know. 35, I would.
Sometimes
think.
It feels like it's cruising.
Oh, but when they're doing, I think 35 is it though.
Really?
But like when they're like, like when they're running the express, some of the trains are express, as opposed to the local trains or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, they're cooking. They're not going slow, is what I'll say.
Sometimes it feels like they're out of control, like they're off the rails. Like there'll be times where I'm like, this is too fast. This is not meant to be going this fast. It feels like we're about to crash. How often are there crashes or anything like that?
There haven't been many, but there was one that like I was my last week in Capitol. Mm-hmm. All the guys that I work with, everybody. All right, I just did Capitol to bank my hours so that I had money that I was hours that I was sitting on in case I needed to take off. But then once I maxed out my hours at 108, I quit doing overtime. So I basically have like 13 days worth of, days that I could take off. Mm-hmm. But now I've also got that. I've also got vacation days and shit like that. But the reason what happened is two of the trains smushed. It was at 96th Street. And when they did, what happened is like this train, I think, had approval, but this train, some kids got in it and were doing whatever. So and it was fucked up. So the train that smashed into the other train, this train, they were driving it from like the fourth car back, and you're supposed to run it from the front car. And there was a guy up there with a radio telling this guy, oh, do this, do that. And then they smushed into each other. And
so people have hijacked the trains before?
Oh yeah, those kids do. They steal the keys and they'll do whatever the hell.
So you get into the control and then you can control it? There's no motherboard or something?
You need the keys to do whatever, but once you have the keys, you do it. Dude, that happens like a lot. Like,
really?
And then like these kids...
What do they want? What do they want? They just want the thrill of driving the train?
They just took it out.
You can take over a train?
Well, a lot of times they'll steal them from like the yards or the whatever the hell, but like or the layover positions or whatever, because all the trains usually go to a stop and then they stop, all right, and they wait. But like a lot of times, like late at night is where a lot of the shit happens, and then when they're there, like I said, if those kids have those special keys,
where do they get the keys?
They steal them a lot of the time.
Damn.
So I don't even know. Yeah. Like,
and once you have that and you're just making up your own rules, it's only a matter of time before you crash into the wrong. Or like, say I was driving the train, would it be easy for me to drive it, or it would be complicated to? Because do you have to like pick tracks that other people aren't going on, or are you just on a track that just?
I think you're just on the track, but that is actually something I could speculate, but I don't know. I do not have personal experience, so I could not tell you anything.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, those trains, all the trains are like. They're like, there's a control center, so they tell people they tell the whatever. So it's like you're not just randomly going and doing stuff,
right?
But like I said, I'm speculating. Like whenever we do something, like we flag. So what that means is like whenever I go on the physical tracks, you have to call it. There's a white hat. I'm a blue hat, but there's a guy who calls it in and says we're going to be down here working. And so when we're down there working, that tells the trains,
don't go on that track.
Well, you can go on that track, but you got to go 5 miles an hour. You got to proceed with caution. There's guys down there. You want to try to not kill people.
So when they come at you at 5 miles an hour, then you guys got to get off the track and then wait till it goes by and then get back on.
Well, we do something called flagging, and then flagging is during the day. We actually really use flags. You know, they're actual like red. The red flag means stop, and then there's 2 yellow flags in advance that are at 500 feet and then 300 feet past that, and that tells the train when it's coming up. The physical flags are there, and it says, "Hey, there's guys working here, so you need to do whatever." So we just, and then there's a green flag afterwards, which means, "Hey, we're done," whatever.
Yeah.
We do flags during the day, and at night we actually use lights. So you use blinking lights or whatever that let people know that.
Yeah.
Whatever. But it's called flagging, and like I said, it's what the whole purpose of it is, so you don't get killed or whatever, or we don't get killed or.
Have you ever had any close calls with that?
I've been good, but people have died since I've been there. People who do what I do. Workers who've died. Yeah.
What, and the train just coming through full speed?
Yeah, but they think also like the dude may have had a seizure or some bullshit,
right?
Or
so
whatever.
There's a reason he was on.
So I don't know, but like, yeah. I mean, the one thing is like they're not allowed to discriminate for age, and a lot of the dudes they hire a lot of old fucks like me, and it's just like.
You're not as.
I'm in good health.
Yeah,
I'm in good health, but like, there's like some of the dudes down there that you're like, I don't know if you should be.
Yeah.
It's a lot of dudes got those big ass fucking beer bellies or whatever the fuck it is. Or
I feel like a lot of state employees are not in the best shape. Yeah. Even the cops you see not in good shape. I'm like, how are they going to do anything?
Yeah,
but I guess they really don't.
They're not going to do anything.
A lot of times they're just there to be there.
Well,
show that they're there.
There's that, but the other thing is like fucking De Blasio changed that shit. So it used to be the city would protect your ass, okay? Say you did something, unless you did something totally stupid, like Abner Louima was shoving a broken toilet plunger handle up a guy's ass.
Yeah,
that guy's in jail. But a lot of times, if you just arrested somebody and then they got whatever, the city would protect you. But now you can go after a cop's private assets. So you can go after a cop's car, physical car that you own, your apartment, if you own your apartment or house. You can go after, especially with this dickhead DA we've got, Bragg, all right? Bragg doesn't want to prosecute anything. So, like, because the whole George Floyd thing, whatever the fuck, is because everybody's innocent, they think. But, so you arrested someone because they really did do something, but then like they didn't. The DH said, "Oh, we're not going to prosecute this case." Now the fucking person who really did do something can turn around and sue the cop for a wrongful arrest or whatever the fuck, even though the person really did do whatever the fuck. Yeah, and so like
it all comes down to like
civil
what a court says, and
then dude, your courts are going to be
rigged against you.
Exactly, if you're a cop. So like, that's the reason they're like, fuck this, I ain't doing shit.
Right, that makes sense, because that's why they really don't do anything unless I've seen them like I think they only ticket people they know they're gonna get.
A lot of times it's white people, not to be whatever, because the white person is just gonna go, yeah, you're right, I did whatever. Now black people are gonna be all about, I can't breathe, blah blah blah. I don't mean to sound whatever, but like, they make a big thing out of it.
I saw a kid, like a college kid, drinking a beer or something, and he was getting a ticket, all while there's like a bunch of crackheads roaming around the thing, and I'm like, yeah, they're not going to touch those people because they don't even want to touch them.
They don't have any money. They don't have money.
They don't want to go near them. Yeah. So, yeah, and if you write them a ticket, like, what the fuck are they going to do? They don't have an ID on them. They don't have shit. But if you get this guy, okay, I can put this on my quota or whatever, and it looks like I actually did shit. If you ticket those guys, it's going to be like, what did you do all day? You didn't do anything. So yeah, it's a clusterfuck down there. So how do you guys get down to the tracks? You don't jump down from the thing and start walking down the
guy, young dudes do, but I don't, because like you can just fucking whatever. At the end of the platforms, you open that little red door, and there's a little ladder, and you can just climb down.
And you guys wear helmets and stuff, like you
have to. It's called PPE,
like
personal
miners?
Protective Equipment.
Yeah.
So you have to have a vest on, which is that reflective vest.
Yeah.
Whatever. You have to have a helmet on. You have to have your gloves, your flashlight, track boots. Yeah, all that other stuff. So yeah.
Damn, that's fucking sweet. So that's they give you all the outfits that you need to wear.
But then the regular clothes are just shit that you whatever.
Yeah.
And so like I have these are street clothes I'm wearing, but I have a set of track clothes and I wash those maybe once a month.
Yeah, why would you?
Yeah, so you just like those are the ones you wear when you're down on the thing. They can get as dirty as fuck.
Yeah,
you don't care. Pardon my French or whatever. But
that was gonna be my next question. Do chicks dig railroad workers or what? Are they into them?
No, I would say my thing is no. Because
it's not on the top of their list, but I guess I bet they would because it's very manly and it's very it's pretty badass.
There's that, but I don't think so because you're not a firefighter. The thing is like when you tell a chick that you work over fucking nights, like 10 to 6.
Yeah, they don't like that.
That is just like the thing is like, oh no, we can't. We can't do it.
Is that what you do? You work overnights?
I was overnights. Now I'm days. Now I'm 8 to 4.
Dude, that's crazy.
But for the last 2.5, I've just been here where I'm at now for a month.
That's not healthy working overnights. Did you feel it when you were working overnights? Were you feeling?
You just black your window out, dude, so you can and wear earplugs and wear those eye mask things.
But I mean, not having any day. How much daylight were you getting every day?
2 or 3 hours.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so it was like crazy.
That's sad because New York can be a depressing, scary place, anyways. And then when you're not getting any sunlight, it's terrifying. That's why I was in Florida for all of winter, and I'd like to do that every year because you just get to skip the depressing part of New York and then come back when it's when it's cool again and the chicks are out.
I know,
and shit is happening.
T-shirts and no bras.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's great. Are there any girls that work in the?
There are.
Yeah,
and then a lot of them are like, I would pretty much. I don't know how much of this I want to get back, but a lot of them are like, some of them really do stuff, but then a lot of them just like, they're part of the quota.
Yeah, that they needed to have some chicks.
X amount or whatever.
Hey, whatever. If they're gonna need them, it's like you might as well take advantage of that system. If that's what they want to do.
Well, that's the other thing is like dudes. A lot of the dudes there, once they get X amount of years in, as far as seniority, exactly. And a lot of them are like, they're like, I got 11 years in or whatever the fuck, and it was like, dude.
Now they're just gonna hang out for another 11 years till they retire.
25. Yeah, you got to.
Wow, that's a shocker that the people on the MBTA are not that efficient. I would have never guessed that people who work on the train
just MTA. You said MBTA.
Yeah, what's MBTA? Maybe MBTA is Massachusetts. Maybe that's what I said.
Probably.
MTA. What does MTA stand for?
Metropolitan Transportation Association.
Okay, the MTA.
And
some people are mailing it in. Who would have thought that some people are mailing it in?
But they do, dude. That's a huge. That's buses. That's the trains. That's the bridges. That's fucking like all.
It's fucking nuts.
I know, it's all one.
I can't imagine how much money's getting funneled into that, and how much they're misusing it and putting it on.
Totally. That's the reason Trump
putting money in the wrong places.
Trump took over like the Penn Station. They were gonna fucking renovate Penn Station, the MTA.
Yeah.
And Trump took it over. He said, We'll do the stuff federally.
Yeah.
So we're not going to let you be responsible
because there's going to be so much fuckery if
it's always they
big
piss
project
away
like
ways.
that.
Yeah.
You would think by now we would be able to have they've updated some of the trains. I'm like, why are all the trains not looking like you get on one train, you're like, oh, this is a nice train.
The A line.
Yeah. And you're like, why are they not all like this?
There's less seats on those fucking new ones, just so you know.
Oh, that's
like
good.
the old orange ones are kind of like. Because they have seats going this way.
Yeah.
The A train is just there's a row of seats, and there's even less because at the doors they kind of squeezed in this little area where you can kind of stand or whatever. But there's less.
Are you guys doing work at night? I feel like whenever I take the train at night from like Washington Square Park up to Astoria, it's always slow and a nightmare.
Yeah, well,
it's going like 5 miles an hour the whole time. So maybe there's people working.
Well,
tracks.
Not the capital jobs, but that's when we do maintenance jobs. Whereas, like, we have track inspectors that go walk all the thing and look at everything. But that's nights is where, like, a lot of times if a rail needs to be replaced, maintenance is the other part of the thing. But like I said, that's where, like, sometimes a rail needs replaced or sometimes this needs done, and they'll do that. But, like...
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some upgrades they could make to make it better. I guess just Yeah, I mean, they should just let everybody ride it for free. Then they should let maybe have like a crackhead like car on the train, you know, where it's like, all right, if you want to fuck around, go on this one, but on these trains you have to be, I don't know about silent, but you have to be like super well behaved, and you need a card to get into those ones. What do you think about that?
That sounds
and if you fuck up, you go into the other ones, and you can fuck around with as much as you want.
The thing is like, dude, I have seen like usually at the last car of the train, that's where people are like shooting up and shit. For the last year before this, I was picking up needles on the track, hypodermic needles.
Damn.
They give all the junkies free needles.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Your tax dollars pay for
Of course,
those.
yeah.
And so like those guys, they're
Where else would I want? I mean, I don't really pay taxes, but
they're just crazy with those fucking needles and shit. Like, it's just like,
yeah, I don't know. It does. I've seen people just smoking cigarettes on there, doing whatever. I think if you have the look like you don't give a fuck, you can do whatever you want on there. Like
I also don't think that like things are like, they just don't enforce shit. Like, dude,
right? There's more cops now than ever, but it doesn't seem like the fuckery is going down at all.
One time when you're gonna get mad at me because I'm a narc or whatever the hell. But one time there were two cops when I was getting off this train, and I was like, dude. I said to the cops, I was like, right there. There's a guy jacking his dick. Yeah. And like, so they went in and they did get him or whatever the fuck. But there was a guy. I don't think
that's a narc. That's a problem. Nobody wants to be like a tattletale. But
well, there were
like,
two cops right there, and the guy jacking his dick was right inside of the thing. So I was like, dude, there's a guy jacking his dick right fucking there.
Yeah, I got to lay up for you. But they also don't want to hear that. Like, they don't want to have to.
I don't
like
know.
That the guy was fully naked walking around at the train yesterday, and I'm like, no cop. What cop is going to want to deal with that?
I think as long as he wasn't beating it. I think if you're just
no,
you might be able to walk around
because he was trying to like get on the train. He was trying to get on a crowded train.
Maybe, but like the one thing I will say is like my favorite time, dude. One time I was over at like 10th Avenue around 20-something thing. 28th Street, whatever the fuck, and they were building a new building or whatever, and it's legal in New York, just so you guys know, for chicks to walk around with no shirt.
Right.
You can walk around with no shirt.
Yeah.
And so
they got to take advantage of that.
So
more.
Exactly. So,
although you're psychotic if you're a chick walking around New York City with your tits out.
Well, anyway, she did it, and she walked right by this thing, and of course. Guess what?
A homeless guy?
No, not the homeless guy. All the construction workers were being construction workers.
Yeah.
And of course, they were like, "Woo!" And she was like, and then she starts, but like, if you're just,
you're insane.
What do you expect?
Even if
she looked like Pink, dude. Her hair was like, Pink, the singer lady. It could have been Pink. Who knows?
Pink. Even if the sentiment is right, like you want it to be for a purpose, it's like, just don't. You can't possibly do that. I mean, you can, but you got to know what the consequences are. We're still living in a fucking crazy place with a lot of insane people, and if you don't realize, like, oh, there's danger out there, then you're not being intelligent, or you're not realizing what's going on around you. If you think you can walk around with your
guys are going to be
out.
guys, so that's what's going to happen.
And there's insane people running around, so it's like, you're
definitely.
gonna, if you want to attract as little attention as possible.
Dude, I was telling this joke. I have this joke I tell. Okay, the truth. All right, I'm gonna tell this. All right, so I did not eat the soup. All right. This is what I'm gonna tell you. Okay, so when I first moved to New York, this was the very first fucking week. There was a guy giving out soup in Tompkins Square Park. Real guy. His name's Daniel Rakowicz. You can Google him. He's a real person.
Yeah.
He killed his girlfriend and fed her to the homeless people in Tompkins Square Park. He looked like Greg Allman, the Allman brother. You know Greg Allman, the long.
Sure.
And he had a chicken walking around his shoulder. And so, like, anyways, the joke I tell to personalize that is I say I ate some of the soup. Free soup. You're not gonna pass that up. And then I say, I said, he's a real guy. He's at Kirby Forensic, which is our Arkham Asylum. It's at the end of Randall's Island. There's a place called Kirby.
So he's in jail currently.
He's there. He'll probably be there.
Yeah, I guess you can't really.
He's criminally insane is what
you can't
they say.
really serve.
But he killed his girlfriend, a stripper, and fed her to the homeless people in Tompkins Square Park. But
how long ago was this?
When I moved here, 1989.
Yeah.
August of 1989. And like I said, 2 weeks later, the guy was on the cover of the Post. And I was like, it made me think, like I said, I'm some 23-year-old kid, 3-year-old kid. I was like, oh my God, did I make a mistake moving to New York City?
Yeah.
Because I was like, what the fuck? And it's like, yeah, but there's been so much stupid shit like that that's happened.
Yeah, I think the sex with a corpse has got to be up there,
that's
right?
Definitely, yeah.
Do you know how that happened? What do you know the details?
I think
of
the
that?
guy just naturally died, and the other dude just fucked him. I don't know.
Were they friends or what?
I don't
Maybe he told him to do that. It's like, if I die
have
on the
no
train,
idea.
fuck me. That would be a funny prank to tell your friend.
Oh
They
my
have to do
God.
that. Be like, you have to fuck me if I.
God.
And did it say how he did it or what?
I think he just died. The dude, I think, just died of natural causes. But the other dude, I don't know, man. I mean, the fact that, dude. Okay, just so you know, they're not allowed. There's TV cameras everywhere. I call them TV cameras.
Yeah.
There's video cameras everywhere. So
Right.
you're not doing shit in New York City without it being recorded somehow. And so, yeah.
So somebody has that footage somewhere. They need to release that tape. That is something we all deserve
And then
to see.
it was like, is the body still warm? If I'm fucking this corpse, pulling his
Jesus,
pants
crazy.
down, fucking him in the ass.
I can't believe that's
Or
your
fucking him in the
first thought.
mouth.
It's got to be your maybe second or third thought, but that can't be your first thought when you see a dead body on
I don't even know.
the train.
I wouldn't even have thought about whatever the fuck. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean that's exciting. But hey, just another day on the train. So it's basically like its own little world down there, and you're
Definitely is.
and you see some crazy people walking
And some
around
old
down there.
And you see old graffiti too. Like I always take pictures when I was down in the tunnel. And
Yeah.
and I was always sending pictures of this friend of mine who's he's like a graffiti aficionado.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, dude, what's his name? And he did that in the 80 something.
Really?
I was like, what the fuck?
That's pretty cool. Do they ever do tours of down there? Do they ever take people down there?
Not those tunnels. There is one thing. Okay, at the end of the Brooklyn Bridge, if you ever stay on the 6 as it curves back up, it goes through this old station, a city hall. The station's called City Hall, and the reason that station, it's this pristine station. I got pictures on my phone I could show you, but it's this pristine station, and once a year they'll let people down there. You got to pay X amount of dollars to do it, but it's this. It's this station that whatever. The reason they don't use that station anymore is because it's too short that you can't let the train cars can't get it. It was too because the trains now are like 640 feet, which is like 8 cars or whatever. And I think only 4 cars could. Maybe it's kind of like what the 3 situation goes through.
Yeah. You should do that. You should do more. I'd be curious to see what's down there. You should have. Do you put up a lot of stuff that you see down there, or they don't want you doing that?
I don't mess with a lot of that just because of the whole I don't know. I think if you just I don't know.
I guess if you're sitting there uploading pictures all day and they see it.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of
do it from like a ghost account or something, or like a
maybe.
There's
a bunch of cool abandoned stations there. Like there's an 18th Street station there on the 6th line that's got some cool ass graffiti down near Brooklyn Bridge. There's some other cool just graffiti and shit.
Yeah, wasn't there a documentary on some people lived down there for like a while?
The mole people, yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't think any of them are there anymore. There's just like a lot.
They were like a little civilization.
Yeah.
They lived down there
Yeah.
all year round. That's crazy.
And there's also some. There's a bunch of train tracks that are kind of ghost. I think they call them ghost train tracks, but where they just
lead to nowhere.
Exactly, and they just built them and they stopped them, and there's just like, I don't know. There's one down near the J train there that like, I don't know. It's really some of the shit's really kind of cool looking. Like, they just leave shit down there. Like there's those big square batteries. I don't know. I think they're 9-volt. They're the big. You've seen them before. There's a thing down near the J train there where there's just a giant stack of those batteries because they evidently leave a light. They have lights there to tell trains that, hey, this is not, and they always have to replace those things. But then, so there's just this huge giant stack of those batteries.
Unused?
No, that are used, that are all corroded, and
now.
and they're just like, yeah.
That's crazy. What about rat? You see a lot of rats down there?
Tons of rats.
Really? You ever get bit by one or step on one?
No, they're more. I think they're more afraid of you than they are whatever.
Yeah, but they're still.
Yeah, they're there.
They're still rats.
Mm-hmm.
God damn, man. Well, that's crazy, dude. Hopefully, you keep getting some more wild stories down there. I'm sure more and more adventures are.
The worst.
Coming.
The worst was like 16, 110, 1 to 3, like where all those junkies are shooting up all night.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then that's pretty bad, is what I'll say.
Those are the fun spots to hang out. Well, look out for Steve when you're on the
exactly.
trains. Will people see you? Can people see you down there? Or you guys are pretty much like when the trains are going by. If I look out the window, is there a chance I'll ever see you?
I'm working up on the structure now, so there's less chance. I'm working days and I'm working up on the structure.
Yeah.
So the good thing is now is like I'm getting fresh air. Where the only thing is like working on the structure. There's those ties, and they're X amount of feet apart. And if you miss your step, you can fall down between the ties and die. So you got to be a little. I still don't really have my sea legs yet. But like, the good thing is like I was down in the tunnels, and the tunnels is like there's all that fermented piss and shit smell.
Mm-hmm. You're probably bad to breathe it all in too, huh?
Yeah, that nasty shit. It's fucking gross.
Damn. So where are you stationed right now?
Tremont in the Bronx is my quarters.
All right, so we can look for you out there.
Yeah, we're up there, but we're all
right.
They send us all around. So
all right, well, if we see you out there, we'll holler. All right, dude. Well, thanks for coming out.
All right, sounds cool.
Good luck with the comedy.
You too, sir. Absolutely.
I'm sure it'll. If it doesn't work out, at least you have the train. At least you have the train. You know, the train's not going anywhere.
Exactly.
They're going to be working on that thing for the next fucking 100 years. If there's ever a safe job to get into, it's that job, because
MTA, fire,
they will
or cop.
never be fucking finished with that.
Yep.
Even if they are, they'll intentionally fuck something up so that they can.
It's always got
working
to
on
keep
it.
going on. Exactly.
You know?
Yep.
All right, cool, man. Thanks for coming.
Sounds awesome.
Peace, dude.
Cool. Peace.